Ha! How many times have you been baking and been like, what the hell is baking soda? What is baking powder? Why are they different? Why does it call for both? What do I do? Well, today on Keepa's Kitchen, we're going to be addressing exactly the difference between baking powder and baking soda coming up. Stay tuned. Oh, hey, you must be here for the difference between baking powder and baking soda. Well, welcome to Keepa's Kitchen. Today on Power Up Episode 7, baking powder versus baking soda. First, let's talk about what baking soda and baking powder are. They are both chemical leaveners in dough. You might need both to do different processes, but they are used to raise dough. How do they do that? How do they do that? Why do they do that? We're going to start with baking soda. Baking soda is 100% sodium bicarbonate. By nature, alkaline or a weak base. Alkaline just means basic, which means it's on the higher end of the pH scale. What does that mean for you? It means you need an acid to activate it. So we can produce carbon dioxide, which is exactly what's going to help us produce the leavening process. Lemon juice, vinegar, yogurt, anything that has some acid in it, and as soon as they come into contact in our dough, they're going to start the leavening process. That's the key to baking soda. Baking soda only has one leavening process. It has the instant leavening process. Moving on to baking powder. I got some good baking powder. How much you need? How much you need? Alright? I'll give you this whole can for $3. It's a deal for you. For you. Baking powder starts off equally as simple as baking soda. Sodium bicarbonate. But baking powder has two more components to it. It contains two additional acids within the dry mixture. The first acid is monocalcium phosphate. Monocalcium phosphate is the first acid that's going to take action in the mixture. As soon as baking powder becomes moist inside the dough, monocalcium phosphate will take action. It will start the initial CO2 releasing chemical leavening process. Great, right? We're not so far off. We've begun both of our chemical leavening processes at the beginning when the dough becomes moist and in mixture. But the best part about baking powder is it contains one more additional dry acid. It contains either sodium acid pyrophosphate or sodium aluminum sulfate, both of which will not become active as an acid in the mixture until, guess what? It needs to be hot. It needs to be hot. So as soon as you get this mixture started up, you're going to get the initial acid starting that very first chemical leavening process, releasing CO2 in the dough and beginning the leavening. But now you have a second acid, which when it becomes hot in the oven will take action and produce a second chemical leavening process. Baking powder will produce a much heavier leavening process in entirety than if you just use baking soda because it gives you an additional second level of chemical leavening. So in essence, baking soda is like the guy you meet at the bar. He's all jacked up, ready to go, taking shots of Fireball. Yo, bro, you want to get lit tonight? I'll buy you shots, girl. You know what I mean? He's like, bah, bah, bah. And then you take him back and he's just done. One chemical leavening process. But baking powder is like if you meet Estefano at the freaking wine soiree, right? Hello, my name is Estefano. I would like to take you out to a nice seafood dinner. And I'll probably never call you again. But let me make love to you. And he takes you home and just first chemical leavening process, secondary chemical leavening process, because you got to add heat to it, and bam. So you got, Johnny Slim Jim, first chemical leavening process, that's baking soda, one and done. And then you got Estefano, wine soiree, Mr. Sex McGee. Next, I'm going to show you guys exactly what happens when you add a little bit of water to baking powder and when you add a little bit of acid to baking soda. Alright, so here are the two examples, you guys. We have baking powder on the right and baking soda on the left. The baking soda you can see is still producing a massive amount of bubbles,
right? We have that acid directly hitting the base in the baking soda. On the right, we have the baking powder. The baking powder is going to give you the example where it's producing much smaller bubbles. See that? Much smaller bubbles, but over time, because those acids are breaking down into the water and they're producing CO2 inside the baking powder. So they all has to become part of the solution for that to start producing CO2. Over here, we added acid directly to a base, and we got immediate effects with substantial amounts more CO2 being produced much quicker. So there's the distinct difference side by side, you guys.
And we did it again, guys. Thank you so much for stopping in to Keep Us Kitchen for Power Up Baking Powder versus Baking Soda, Volume 7. I really appreciate you guys coming, and do not forget to like and comment on the video. Make sure you share it with all your friends, and most importantly, smash that subscribe button and become part of the family. Don't forget to follow me on Keep Us Kitchen on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, the Snap Chisels, the Bizzles, the Bazzles. All the links will be below. And until next week, bang, pow, and you guys stay super.